In 1981, Sam Raimi released a horror film called The Evil Dead. Raimi was a low-budget independent filmmaker and could not afford the best gear at the time, leading him to make a lot of his gear using rigs made from wood that he would mount the camera on. In order to replace the effect of a Steadicam, he placed the camera on a wooden plank and had grips on either end that would run with it. This created the POV of a monster moving around. This technique would later go on to be used in other 80s low-budget films and also Raimi's own future works. For its time, I'd say that it works well as a substitute for a Steadicam, but how well does it hold up now? I decided to film in a similar manner, moving around like a mysterious creature, and my shots ended up way too shaky. I wasn't able to get a very stable shot at all. As I was filming, the amount of shake made the footage too blurry. I bent my legs and tried moving slower and was still getting shake. I later discovered that most areas using this technique used flatter surfaces and also moved slower, then sped it up in post. So while this was fun to study and try out, there's definitely newer technology that makes this easier for amateur filmmakers. Tilt shift is an interesting thing that I wanted to explore. It involves changing depth of field to create scenes that appear like miniature scale models by blurring both the foreground and background so that only narrow portions of the shot are in focus. This allows filmmakers the ability to turn ordinary landscapes into miniature worlds that can captivate the audience. Typically, it's used in wide shots or bird's eye. One cool example is in The Social Network, where tilt shift was actually used as a workaround to scheduling date problems during its filming. The scene revolved around a boat race with an audience, however the location was only available for a limited time. To make the scene, the wide shots are edited to make surroundings not as visible. This also fit the context of the scene because it could be highlighting the intensity of the race. I tried out my own miniature time-lapse. It unfortunately doesn't last very long, as I apparently wasn't allowed to film at the building I had scouted out. The next thing I researched is forced perspective, a technique where objects and subjects are placed in a way that they can appear larger, smaller, closer, or farther away than they actually are. This is achieved by carefully positioning the camera and the objects in the scene so that the scale of objects looks completely different. Many people use it in their everyday social media posts too. It saves you time on something that could be harder through editing. One film that utilizes this technique a lot is Lord of the Rings. In order to give off the illusion that the hobbits are short, even though the actors themselves are not, they built special rigs in order to place hobbit actors farther away and then direct them to face the general direction, and then that gives off the illusion they were looking at the person they were talking with. For my shot, my idea was fairly simple. Just jump off this short ledge and into the cup. All in all, the camera tricks I explored are good tools, some of which are good for small filmmakers that can't afford the best gear. After all, limitations breed creativity, and these techniques offer inventive ways to overcome those while still allowing you to deliver good visual storytelling. I hope you learned something useful, and thank you for watching.